Grand Funk's Mark Farner looks back at selling out Shea Stadium faster than the Beatles. I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Music. When a band sells out Shea Stadium faster than the Beatles, well, it's kind of a big deal. Grand Funk did it in 72 hours. The Beatles needed a couple of weeks. Okay, they're not the Beatles. They were never close to the Beatles. No one was close to the Beatles. But it's still something that you kind of lead in a conversation with. You get bragging rights out of doing that. When I was talking to Mark Farner, I had it in big letters on my little pad of paper. Make sure you ask him about Shea Stadium.
Shea Stadium was all, that music that we played was all Mark Farner music. There was no other songwriting by anybody in the band at that time. So that feather in my cap is one that I wear with pride and humility. And I keep it humble because I am a humble man. It's my intention. But I'm telling you, with that kind of adoration and that kind of love being poured out from the fans, back then, just keeping it a hat that would fit on my head. You know, keeping that head size down, keeping it down. It was flying over in the helicopter, flying over the stadium, and Humble Pie's on stage at second base, and they rocking the place. The whole, I'm talking the bleachers, 55,000 people are bouncing, and it looks like the place is going to cave in. And we landed in a parking lot where the limo was supposed to meet us, but there was no limo, and the guy that was with us ran down to the telephone booth in the corner, made a phone call, and within 2 or 3 minutes, we had cop cars come in. We jumped in the back of cop cars, and we rode into Shea Stadium with the lights and sirens going, and the doors swing open, and out comes Grand Funk. It was like, man, the audience loved it. It was great. What a great entrance. And during the song, I'm Your Captain, the song, you know, in the refrains and the slow part, the audience was singing so loud, Brother John, that they were drowning out the PA. And that is no lie. That half circle of people, their volume overcame the stage volume. It was just like, holy crap, man. I'll never forget it. I get goosebumps on my goosebumps just talking about it.
Before I talked to Mark Farner, I had a chance to chat to Don Brewer, the current drummer of Grand Funk Railroad. He's the original drummer. He's still there. He's leading the band. Yeah, I know everyone wants a reunion. We're not sure if that's going to happen ever. I wouldn't bet my life on it, but I'm doing a whole special on the 70s. It's going to take us a little while to put this together, but we're trying to get the vibe of the 70s through the artists themselves. I'm not going to tell you what the 70s were like. All the artists we're talking to will be telling you about their experiences in the 70s. So Don Brewer, what did the 70s feel like to you?
That's a big question, I know.
Yeah, it's a big question. Well, you know, a lot of ups and downs. You know, I mean, it was, you know, between the Terry Knight thing, you know, and you know, I mean, having to the rebirth of the band, and then, you know, the death of the band in 1976. You know, it was really, you know, disco had come in, and we were not getting along. You know, the band was just falling apart. You know, so a lot of ups and downs. The 70s were a very tumultuous time, you know, really. I mean, it kind of, once the band broke up, you know, the first time in 1976, things kind of settled down after that, you know, so it was pretty wild.
But as a rock star, you were really experiencing the 70s, don't you think, quite differently than anybody only listening to the radio or buying albums?
Yeah, you know, I mean, yes and no, but we did stay in Flint, Michigan, which, you know, helped keep us grounded, you know, and as our, you know, as the time kind of came and went for us, you know, you became less recognizable, you know, so as I say, you know, after 1976, you know, going into the early 80s and stuff, it just really wasn't a big deal. You know, we weren't superstars anymore. So, you know, you lived a pretty normal life.
And I asked vocalist Mark Farner about what he remembers, what vibe he got from the 70s.
It was all happening fast. You know, the career of Grand Funk unfolded very rapidly, and due in part definitely to Terry Knight's managerial skills and his marketing genius. I thought he was great at it, and I don't take anything away from him as far as that regard. But back then, John, it was a different. You could actually take your songs on a 45 we went to Nashville and recorded, and I'm telling you a true story here. We came back to Flint, Michigan, went to WTAC, went up to Bob Dell, the DJ that was on the air, and said, Bob, we just drove in from Nashville, and it was all-night drive, and can you play this? He says, hell yeah, and he spins the record, you know. You couldn't do that today, but back then, that was our release. That was our turf, and it was our exchange. We had good exchange. We had good musical exchange, and there was a lot of people's opinions that were being voiced in the music and being played out, and our likes were being catered to. And this was prior to 95 of the deregulation of the FCC. Of course, you know, brother, back then, you could own 7 AM, 7 FM, 7 television stations, so that kept it mainly in the hands of families, and patriotic families who give a crap about what their children saw and heard. But in 95, when the deregulation occurred, all that went away, and we've seen the demise of it. So looking back, you have to look past that filter, because there was a moral gauge on things up until that deregulation. It was shaky, but it was still there. And then when they deregulated, of course, the people who finance and issue the currency to our nation now control all the terrestrial radio, so they program some kind of lame, fluffy list that from state to state it doesn't change, because it's some cat sitting in New York City making all the music available, and it's not my local taste. It's not my influence anymore. It's this corporate horse crap is what I call it, and it just sucks, man. It's my personalities, my people that used to be in my town and talk to me about things, about the baseball game, about the soccer game. That's not going on anymore. There's just all this corporate conglomerate horse crap, and we get fed a bunch of fluff. So to compare the eras, man, it's almost impossible, because even though I don't subscribe to the notions of those people that I have to go out into the world and mingle with, and I have to make a living out here, these people have been under the influence of lamestream for a long time. And I can tell them right away, and all I can do is pray for them and hope they get better, because they believed a lot of lies.
Make sure you comment on our video, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos. We always appreciate that. When someone shares our video and they tag me, for instance, on Facebook, or tag Rock History Music, we notice. We read all the comments. We appreciate it every time you subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Also, we're expanding an awful lot. We're trying to raise some funds via selling t-shirts, sweatshirts, and mugs. There's a link to our merchandising store in the subscription of this video. We're going big this year, and thank you. If you want to volunteer, make sure you comment on our videos and we'll get back to you. We're looking for writers, researchers, and even if you want to be a guest on our channel. I'm John Beaudin. This is Rock History Music